Okay, so NQ and YM are going opposite direction here. What's new? Just keeps on doing the same thing. I would have been biased down, but last night we tapped off the naked POC on ES, the 1 hour and 2 hour charts. So technically it wouldn't be a first touch. That's my problem with this, but I like seeing the SMT here. YM is driving ES down, but NQ is trying to hold it up. Again, I would be biased down, but that naked POC on the 1 hour chart, something I like to track. That would have been from, it's the POC from Friday. We have not come down and touched that level until last night at around midnight New York time. As a result, we could just ride up. But right now we're just messing around in the middle of the entire week, essentially, since Tuesday to now. So there's no real advantage here. But I like what NQ is doing. NQ is rejecting here. 75.15, that's a key test spot. Would like to see us run through. If we run through, this seems more likely here. And then 75.20 to 75.30 seems pretty magnetic too. Last night, I think we did visit 74.90. 74.90 on SPX. So today's straddle is, I believe, 29 points. That's the at the money premium for a call and a put. At open. Yeah, 29 points. And we opened, I believe, around 75.20, actually 75.18. So what I like to do is note the straddle from, so I had roughly I was guessing that would open up at 75.20, so I adjusted my straddle accordingly for 29 points. Plus minus the 75.20. So I got one at about 75.50 and 74.90. That's what the options market essentially has priced in for today in terms of a move. Yeah, it was easier to be biased down if we didn't touch that naked POC, and I'm going to show you that naked POC here. So this line here, 75.08, is often a line that I like to go long off of or treat as a target. So maybe after this 1 hour, if you're looking at the 1 hour chart, after this 1 hour sweep of the Globex highs from Monday, you can take a short position and then take it out here. And it's perfect. But a little bit of heartache here, because you would have wanted to see a straight line down, but we wicked off liquidity here. And then we finally hit it last night. I would have liked to see it during regular trading hour. Now, I still want to see this gap kind of close here. The SMT seems to be hinting at further downside here. We're at 75.10 SPX. Now let me transition back over to the OptionsDepth chart, which is gamma, breakdown by strike, then the charm. I would treat 75.15 as a pivot if the profile continues looking like this. And if we can get through this influence here, let me see the daily to see if we can. Yeah, if we can move beyond this 75.10 influence, we're likely to kind of magnet down towards 74.80. Now that was something I wanted to see yesterday, but it didn't quite come, so it is what it is. Happened overnight instead. It's pain, quite the pain. Hey, Koshik. Straddle today is 29 points at open. Currently, I have it drawn from 75.20. I didn't really adjust it based on the open. The open was 75.18. Figured it was close enough since it's like a rough marker. Anyways, I wanted to be biased down. I truly did. And my bias was down towards that 1 hour naked POC from last Friday. It was like 75.08 on ES. I really wanted to see that. It hit and then it bounced right back up. And then a nice bounce and then hopefully a sell off towards a gap fill. And then we'll see how everything goes from there. But for all I know, we might bounce and just stay in this range that we've been in since yesterday, I guess. I don't even know if there was news last night that kind of drove that price action into the naked POC we were talking about. Yeah, sorry, I realized I didn't have the correct chart up when I was showing the naked POC, but here it is. This is Friday's POC. and also a localized volume profile that I drew in here that I think is the fixed range volume profile. And pretty much bounced right off of the high volume node, which also happens to be the POC from Friday. And those are generally pretty good bounce spots. Now NQ's naked POC is quite a bit lower. It would be the full complete NQ gap fill. And NQ kind of looks like it's doing a head and shoulder. So it'll be interesting to see it play out today, if that's the case. The 5-minute 9 o'clock top wick on ES. That was an interesting indicator. And I typically watch for this. I was at the computer. I didn't take it on all of the accounts. I only took it on one. And it was yeah, just one eval account. And I should have taken it on this one that I'm tracking, that I've been tracking on stream. Anyways, the 5-minute high volume, so it's a higher volume top wick, and it was like localized, pretty high volume too, in comparison to all these other candles. You also see it on NQ, but NQ went on to go make a higher high there, just for the SMT. Yeah, so I shorted around here. I think my entry was 39.50. Yeah, so about here. And then I just kind of wrote it down. And yeah, it was just one account, so I kind of felt comfortable holding it. I wanted to see take profit at 75.08, but I understand that we may not even see that. And this could just be it right here. Because 75, oh, well, actually, this is kind of growing here. This negative gamma influence between 7,500 and 7,520. The low there was 75.07. I'm going to just give it a shot and try to hold this. I'm not going to let it go back to my SL, which is the top of the 5-minute candle. I would say I was a little bit late entering that because there was an opportunity to enter for about a 3-point stop loss. And I didn't, it took me a little bit of time to kind of decide to enter. I didn't have my trade copier on, kind of like entering almost like, kind of like I would consider a DCA, but through multiple accounts. So for instance, if I entered this account here, I would, maybe if we went up to like 43 or 42, I would enter another account there. But yeah, I would like to see if we can kind of break this negative gamma influence in this range that we were in yesterday during the regular trading hours and see if we can move towards that 47.80. 47.80 dealer positive gamma area. Yeah, but the Centroid 7505 seems well supported. It was pretty well supported yesterday, that whole 7500 area. Just kept on wicking the low, coming back up for like 20 points, wicking the low, coming back up, and it just kept on doing that yesterday. NQ started really green, only to do like a massive top wick on the 5-minute. YM started really far down the red on the day. It wicked below the weekly low and has skyrocketed ever since for about 200 points now. I think YM, it's about $2 a point, if I remember correctly. Or is it $5 a point? I forget. No, I think it's $5 a point. Anyways, doesn't matter. I don't normally trade YM. But it did sweep. It did a really nice sweep and just ran up right off that sweep. But I love myself a good SMT. And when I saw that NQ SMT, I figured it was a good opportunity to hold this ES position. Yeah, currently stuck in this negative gamma cluster here. I want to see the daily and how that looks like. And we don't have the gamma peak on the daily until about 74.90, let's say. 74, yeah, about 74.90. I like to round things off. So hopefully we kind of break that influence, run through. It'll be slow, I would imagine, because it's positive gamma. But I would like to see it run towards 74.80, 74.90. The intraday is kind of showing a different picture since a lot of the positioning has changed. The primary strike that's influencing this positive gamma is from the 74.75 positioning, which basically means customers are short. They're short puts there. And if they're short puts, they are selling volatility and selling premium, which effectively slows down the market should we kind of head in this direction. But right now we're just messing around in yesterday's middle on SPX. And let me go back here. Yeah, so I got the straddle low at 74.90, straddle high at 75.50. We have 10 a.m. orange folder. Thanks, Koshik. Oh yeah, I see it now. New home sales. Looks like we have some Fed speakers too. the price action in this range has been good for mean reversions. So every time you get a wick off like a previous day high, previous day low, things just kind of revert back to POC or revert to some upside liquidity if it was downside that it collected. But it's really hard to plan a pretty far out of the money take profit, like what I'm doing right now, or what I'm trying to do right now. Like, see, that was like a perfect, that 1 hour fair value gap filled in from this candle on a 15-minute candle or 15-minute time frame. Yeah, I'm trailed to break even, which is 39.5. I'm just gonna let this one run, and then I'm gonna log it. But I think it's gonna tick my my stop loss, so it is what it is. So we started moving down from 9:30 to 10, or well, 9:30 to 9:50, and it looks like things are changing now. This is what I was a little concerned about, because the profile kind of lended itself to see some upside too. Because there are a lot of short positions, customer short position, sorry. No, there was a lot of hedging by customers. So customers started buying puts to the downside for this week, and that balance point was like around 7,500. So if the market held above 7,500, then what we could see is a move to the upside when those hedges roll off and dealers start I guess hedging their books and dropping whatever they had to buy up for the hedges on their end. I'm gonna let this one run. Remember, I'm probably gonna regret it, just based on the timing of all this and the SMT we got at the bottom there too, between ES and NQ. I don't love it, but it is what it is. Still got 5 minutes on this 15-minute close, so I don't have high conviction in either direction right now. To me, we're still in the middle. And if at the end of yesterday, I thought we would head down, and we did technically go down, but we ended up going down during Globex hours. I think that naked POC hit around somewhere around like midnight, just after midnight to 1. It consolidated there. So that target that I wanted to see hit overnight, which means like if that was a high probability target, it's no longer high probability. But I'm still holding on to that bias. And I think at the beginning of the day, I said, I want to be downside bias, but something's telling me that I shouldn't be. Like, so if I had like a 70% probability that we were going to hit that naked POC, we hit it just overnight. And because of that, I have to reduce the probability of revisiting that naked POC. That's how my mindset kind of works, but I'm still hanging on to this. ES volume is green and NQ volume is red. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully NQ takes over and just plummets. Just for this position. I wish I kind of got in. I wish I got in with some other accounts, because I definitely would have taken profit at around the VWAP, I would say, or the POC on the day, which is about 75 to 8. About 10, 11 points. So it's not bad. It's pretty decent play. I just didn't catch it with the rest of my accounts. I was a bit hesitant because of that probability that I was thinking in my head. But I think that would have been half gap. Yeah, so wherever we tapped last night would have been half gap. NQ hasn't even gotten that close to its gap. That Friday to Sunday gap. Let me switch back to the gamma charts. I think that's better to look at for everyone. Yeah, so this 75.15 is becoming a problem here. This influence 75.15, 75.10. Now we're on the upside, on the other side of it. I hate this type of positioning. I don't really have an edge on how to read that. But in general, I think it's pretty much slow until 75.55. I initially had it 75.55 as a potential reversion. Yeah, and 75.30 I also have as magnetic. That influence kind of drifted away because at the start of the day, 75.30 positioning on SPX had 3,600, almost 3,700 positions. But now we're looking at 818, which is why you don't see that dark blue zone from 75.30 anymore. And on the daily, you can see it. See the 75.30 on the daily here. Yeah, I think that move took me out. Let me check. Yeah, that move definitely took me out. It's good for 14 points. So I definitely could have taken some profit there and been happy with it. But I was going for the home run ball. 75.30 was sticky. Less sticky now. And then 75.55 was my reversion, but that has dissipated from 4,200 down to 2,200, so half the size. Yeah, it's a mix of positioning up there. Oh, I'm gonna hate it if we just ticked my exit and then we came back down. Anyways, that was the 10 o'clock news, right? So US home sales don't look as good. Don't look that great. I'm not sure if it matters. $75.50 ES, you think? $75.50 ES. That seems reasonable. $75.50 ES. I think that'll be roughly 75.30 SPX. It seems very reasonable. Hey Koshik, after you went off yesterday, there was another guy that was messaging. I have no idea what stream he came from, but yeah, he was messaging in the chat, which is quite nice, I guess. So I stayed on for a little bit further, or a little bit longer, just to entertain it. Oh, I'm gonna be very mad if we start moving down. Except I don't think he's here right now, so he might have been Saudi time, if I seen this correctly on plus I think he was wearing the attire in his profile picture. But I also saw that in the analytics it said that recent viewer from Saudi, so I guess that was him. Oh no, my mouse died. Yeah, sitting above 75.15. Making this really hard. Like the move down last night Moves so smoothly. Goes down, up, down. Yeah. And it just like, and now we're during regular trading hours. We're just kind of messing around here. It's just pretty annoying. YM is pushing down after that move up. Could just be a retracement. But YM does look like it's on a downtrend for the day since overnight lows, or since overnight price action. VIX is still trickling down here, 16.16. I think the drift up is probably correct. It makes the most sense anyways, especially with all the downside hedging that took place for this week. I don't know that PCE was positive when it came in either, but I don't think anything matters based on what the administration is doing, which is just pumping money into the system. I think it was similar to what Janet Yellen did when she was in power, but Besson's doing it and doing it with better accuracy, I guess. What's interesting though, after June OPEX, the positioning kind of changes. It changes from a positive gamma regime to a negative gamma regime. So it seems like everyone abandoned their initial hedges for July OPEX. And what they are doing instead is chasing the upside with customer long calls. And they are playing massive, like in massive size to create negative gamma on the dealer profile. And because of that, between the third week of June and moving into the third week of July, we could see like a sporadic move up, but it's going to be volatile and unstable because we're in a negative gamma, a monthly negative gamma regime. Ooh, 75. Okay, 75.50 came on. What did we have before? 75.50. 75.50. Oh, there wasn't much sizing at all. And now it's massive sizing. So to me, 75.50 Oh no, sorry, that wasn't okay. 75.50 and 75.55 kind of is a local call spread, customer call spread. So this will slow things, and all this is premium selling position, so it should in theory be slow. And then this here could kind of top us out at 75.70 if the market should run up beyond 75.50 and through the negative gamma here. This should kind of top us out, I believe. But man, this is really slow. But yeah, I think upside drift is working out there. Oh, there must be news there. It must be another Iran deal, if I had to guess. $75.50. There's $75.50. Are we gonna run right through? There's the straddle high. What is happening here? That was a straddle high. That was 75.50. And it looks like we're gonna plow through and head towards 75.70. 75.52. Well, let's see here. I need the news. What's the news? What's your guess, Koshik? Iran deal again? That was a sweep too. Financial juice is like lagging for me. I think everyone's wondering the exact same thing. Yeah, 75.55 rejection. That would have been my guess. 75.55. Not bad. So I think that's new all-time highs on ES again. US and Iran reach deal, but need Trump's final approval. So we were talking about the downside hedges rolling off. That's a perfect example of it. It would have been cool and more definitive if we So 75.55 was nice prior to intraday positioning interrupting that. 75.75 would have been much better in my opinion. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Koshik. I think it would have just blasted through my my orders and just kind of skipped it, you know. So the initial 7555 rejection was decent. The volatility kind of gave it like 14 points there. But the real good one's going to be around 75.75. But it's going to be really slow around there. It's going to take a lot of force to get up here. So maybe Trump comes out and says, "Hey, I agree." So it's a 60-day extension of the truce. What's interesting is Alma said Thursday is the inflection point. So that's where, if we're sitting above 7,500, we're going to squeeze up. And that we did. So it's kind of amazing. And she said that on Monday when she was reviewing the positions. It's kind of insane. So US and Iran reach agreement. Okay, yeah, 60-day extension to truce. $60-day extension. Is that because like the government will be on holiday in the US? So 2 months. That's bring us to July. End of July. Interesting. So that was a really good example of edges rolling off. Like seeing the skew, I guess, and knowing the impacts of those positions and how those positions eventually have to come off. So this is the reason why I was a bit afraid to go short this morning. Mind you, it was still good for about 14 points from where I entered. So I definitely would have taken profit in all these other accounts. But for that one, I just kind of let it ride. Like I wanted to believe in the downside further. But I already knew that the target that I would have aimed for had already hit. So in theory, long upside bias would have been good, but that gap still lingers in my head. And it hasn't been tested on the SPX at all, so Trump asked for a few days to think about the final deal. All right, here's the pullback. Yeah, that's 755. That was an interesting rejection, and technically speaking. So I'm gonna show the markup that I created. Let me see if I can find it. So this is the markup that I created. Prior to market open, was thinking, hey, there's a pretty defined range here, but it could take us down to 74.50 and all the way up to 75.70. And I was looking for a 7.555 reversion, which is happening now. And that happened to work out really well with the previous day high sweep, or the weekly high sweep. I just don't know if we're going to head back down towards 75.30, because the 75.30 positioning isn't quite there anymore. So all this positioning that you see here kind of slows a lot of things down. And look, 75.50 influence basically non-existent anymore. It just keeps coming off. So this whole area ends up being slow and sticky. I tried a quick scalp off the doji in the same account. So we'll kind of see how this goes here. I'm already at break even. I didn't like the volatility. I'm a bit worried about it, especially if Trump came out and said, hey, yeah, it's final, guys. Then we could have rocketed again for another 20 points up. So I didn't take it in the main account that I've been trading, sadly. $42 is a good TP. Yeah, that's if my break-even stop loss doesn't hit first. It's gonna be that day today, you know? It's already happened once. I like a good 5-minute doji that looks like that on ES. Upside pivots. Upside pivot, let me see. Pivot is sticky. 75.30. The upside pivot and sticky. Breaking any upside move and potentially pinning the spot. This field is within 75.48 and 75.16. Yeah, this price action looks like it wants to come test my break-even stop loss. I moved to break even pretty quick, mainly because of the 75.70 and 75.75 influence. I'm a bit worried that we could drift up there, so I don't want to hold a big L. Yeah, I'm still worried about this influence here. 75, 70, 75, 75. I can't imagine that we would get above 75, 75. But 75, 70 seems like a very plausible target. $75.50. Yeah, we can still drift. Well, now we're slow again, which makes sense based on the gamma profile, I think. It's starting to become really heavy positive gamma. Yeah, so going to the chart, you can see basically hit our straddle high. That's what the market essentially priced in. The movement today is about 47 points on SPX. But the straddles was just about 29 points at the beginning of the day. So right at open. That's what the market had been pricing in. I think we're just going to trickle up here. If we don't get a rejection back towards value area high. Yeah, I think that, so that's where my stop loss was. I'm already ticked out. 8 points tops. But it's a very inopportune spot, in my opinion, to have your stop loss. But I've kind of already explained why I was a bit worried that we would see more further upside, which is why I moved the stop loss pretty quickly. Yeah, 42 would have been nice. I think I was aiming for about 48. Yeah, about 48. And now we're stuck in this positive gamma area. It's getting deeper. So you can kind of tell that it was light positive gamma at first, and then positioning had changed. I think a lot of the 75.55 came off. 75.15 came off. A lot of that and then a lot of the positioning changed to positive here. So that's why you're seeing this shift into a darker blue zone. Yeah, see what I mean? It's a very inopportune spot because it was a 1 minute fair value gap there. So we can still reject, just like if I had higher conviction, I probably would have held my stop loss where it was. 15-minute close isn't too bad though. See a drift down here. Yeah, what a shame. Normally I would like to see the 15-minute close, but and I think the 15-minute had already closed there. But I didn't adjust my stop loss. Oh well, it is what it is. I won't get upset over it. But if another play breaks even stop loss, I might smash my keyboards. Yeah, and I think I've been mentioning that I've been trying to train all-time high longs are under the water right now. So let's see. Oh, I see, yeah. Yeah, today, yeah, I've been trying to train Claude to read the gamma profile, the breakdown by strike, and the charm charts from the daily perspective. So what I do is basically take a screenshot of what I see here within a certain range. So I would say about 100 points from wherever the at the money price is at the time. So let's say I do it at 9 o'clock today at 9. The we were hanging around 75.20ish, and because we were hanging around 75.20ish, I just kind of zoomed into the gamma chart to about 7600 to about 7400 to show that range. Copy paste this, screenshot it right into Claude and say, hey, analyze this. And one thing that it picked up, it said, so yesterday it was like a pin and settle. So settle somewhere within within where price action was. And today it says coiled setups can pin all day and then break in the last 90 minutes as charm decay forces a resolution. It's still pinned at 75.20 by, if it's still pinned by 75.20 by 2:30, watch closely for a late directional resolution into one of the active flip levels. So it's an interesting thing. Like, it's interesting to see that Claude was able to pick up, like, hey, we got this range here, and we could bust out of that range today. There's potential for it. And looks like the potential did pay off to the upside. Yeah, I would have liked to see about 75.30. If we get to 75.30, that's another 5 points from here. Yeah, that's pretty close to the 75.48 target that I initially had. So if we hit it, the targets aren't absolutely off. NQ is kind of holding us up here a little. Yeah, it still hasn't hit my where I would have wanted to take profit. That 5-minute bounce off the ADMA there, off the doji candle. Like if you're long bias, that was a decent long bias, and NQ looks like it's ready to go. Didn't retrace nearly as hard as or as much as ES did. ES took some time to get to the 5-minute ADMA, but the NQ hit it at 10:20. Yeah, so this white this is the 5-minute charts on both ES and NQ. NQ pulled back right away to the ADMA at 10:20, whereas ES didn't touch it until about 10:35. So it'd be interesting to see if they bounce this here. So far, the straddle's playing out, I'd say. market correctly priced in the straddle. If we move up towards the upside target, which is 75, 70-ish, then I would say the straddle outperformed, or the price action outperformed the initial straddle price. So now we're looking at a straddle price of 22. And 22 points from here could take us to 75.75 ES. Where is that? Oh, that's just towards the high, I guess. 22 on SPX would take us to about 75.60. NQ still fighting here. I'm gonna go back to the gamma chart, since everyone is able to kind of look at a price chart. Yeah, off the daily, this is what I had drawn as a reversion level, this 75.55. And it looks like we hit 75.54.7. Good reversion play, depending on where you enter. But it's just a scalp. Intraday starts painting a different picture here, where it's less negative gamma, so that 75.55 influence has kind of disappeared, and it's migrated and concentrated to 75.80-ish. So we can get that drift, but this whole area has like a intraday magnetic grind out effect, now that the positioning is what it is, which is a lot of dealer longs and customer shorts. Positive gamma positioning, basically. You get any trades today, Koshik? Oh, VIX is at like about 16. No trades today, darn. Might be a good thing. I feel like the 2 break-even trades that I took, it hurt a little. Like 15 points is a good take profit, I think. 14 points, decent enough. Oh, okay. Look at this price action here. There's something happening. I think there's more news coming out. I see a headline that came out that said, and it's from a Fed member, Musalam. There is a scenario where the economy might require a rate increase. If we don't see disinflation in the next 1 to 2 quarters, that would concern me. And currently, if you watch the US 10-year yield, Oh, sorry, US 2-year yield. Let me transition over here. The US 2-year yield is hanging out at about 4.027. So that's about 25 bips higher than the high end of the Fed fund rate. Fed fund rate, I believe, is at 3.5 to 3.75. So the market is suggesting the Fed is late to a rate hike. US 10-year yield. It's a good proxy for mortgages, I believe. The 5-year mortgage, especially in Canada. $4.465. Still on the high end of this range, but it's done nothing for a few years now. But I believe the Besant is and the Trump administration is trying to control this. So there's a bit of yield curve control. They don't want the 10-year to blow out, which it got close to doing. Actually, when was the the tax tantrum was here, right? Yeah, it's just been ranging. And I think like it's not even just the Trump administration that's trying to control this. Downside just doesn't play out at all lately. I-24 News. I don't know where that news outlet is from, but Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, has not accepted a memorandum of understanding with the US. So I guess that's suggesting fake news, but then somebody else would say, don't believe. Trump will come out and say, hey, don't believe what the supreme leader is saying. That's fake news. Oil is hanging. So WTI or CL futures ticker is hanging out at about $89 per barrel. Something happened there at 10:45 because VIX kind of did like this massive wick, bottom wick. If you're new here, don't hesitate to say hello or ask any questions. We're trying to build a community here and just work off of each other and learn things from each other. Hey Koshik, I found myself chanting Bahubali randomly today and yesterday. I just got to the part where, like, I guess he saved his mother. I'm actually not sure if he knows it's his mother yet, but yeah. This thing still looks like it wants to push up, eh? I got nothing though. I don't think I'm gonna be taking anymore. If I if I stuck to scalping as opposed to like aiming for maybe some sort of liquidity zone, I probably would have been sitting in much better profit today rather than neutral. But as you said, I think the positive outlook is, hey, at least your break-even stop loss triggered before that news came in. So I think that is that's something positive to look at. One thing that I'm seeing on ES, the 1 hour chart, let me switch over here. Yeah, on the 1 hour chart, I'm seeing almost like a megaphone type of pattern. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that this is something I would pay attention to. I don't know if it's going to happen today, tomorrow. I really don't think so. Now that we're kind of pushing up here, I think this gap is likely to be left behind. But we'll see what next week's positions come in at, and we'll kind of work off of it from there. But yeah, I really like that POC test. I would have liked to see this and it for it to terminate at C. And if it terminated at C, then I like that for further upside. That would have been golden. But this expanding triangle or megaphone pattern, technically also an Elliott wave pattern or a correction. And once it does its 5 waves, then it can run up. But EWT is a little bit finicky, especially for me. I'm not like a pro user of it, but we can totally just do something like this. An ABC pattern, which is a correction. And then rock it up from there, which is very possible. Because into June OpEx, which is about three weeks away, let's say. 1, 2, 3, yeah. About 3 weeks away. Into June OpEx, things are going to be relatively supportive in general. Anyways, enough EWT. Because the thing with Elliott Wave, it just kind of like helps you tell a patterned story. It's like pattern trading, right? And it accounts for all like the fibs, the fib ratios, stuff like that, which is why I like to draw them in, but they are not the be all end all by any means. And I love it when you kind of draw it and it kind of plays out based on the volume profile. But clearly my my trading journey kind of took me everywhere. Took a lot of different roads to kind of get to where I'm at now, and then finally stuck with the GEX profile, dealer hedging profile, because I think this actually has an edge tracking options from an ODT perspective. And then if you combo that with volume profile, everything kind of works out. And then I have Alma kind of giving insight on various other options derivatives, various other Greeks that could impact the price action. This is just so grindy. I can't imagine I do anything here. It feels like a Friday for some weird reason, but not only that, it was like a short trade week. Yeah, the recipient of all this liquidity that's being pumped in by the current administration seems to be semiconductors, right? I think that's not surprising to anyone. Like, that's not new news. And this summer, or actually in about 2 to 3 weeks, I think SpaceX will be IPOing. So all that excess liquidity to keep the market up, I think I would imagine that liquidity would continue for the most part. But any donors that he has, that the current administration has, will likely end up would likely have positions in the SpaceX IPO, and would like to, I would imagine they would like to cut their positions. So they got to dump it onto all the 401ks. That's kind of my view on it. all the retirement, pensions, everything that is just blindly long the market. So I think all that money is in semiconductors currently, and then we're going to start rotating into obviously SpaceX to cash all those guys out. And on top of that, we'll probably end up dispersing into a few of the other weak sectors, like software, for instance. I kind of like that narrative where software stocks, which have been beaten up since this rise in semiconductors, and it's like hated right now, and all it needs is like this little push. So companies like Salesforce, and ServiceNow, I think are all primed for an upside move. I've started positioning kind of like some long-term portfolio into them in hopes of playing that dispersion into that I think would happen in the summer. But I could be wrong, and semiconductors could just rule the world, period. So here's a drift up. SPX has already hit its high there. And it's just more new all-time highs, I believe. Yeah, new all-time highs, new all-time highs. NQ is pushing up here. I can't see anything reject until 75.75. 75.70, 75.75. So about another 15 to 20 points up from here on SPX. And this is where I think the dealer profile and the ODT positioning kind of reigns supreme in terms of giving us a clue as to where we could potentially stop out, or where's the potential target here. Because from a price action perspective, there's nothing above here on ES. There's nothing above here on SPX, right? So ODT positioning offers a look at how customers are positioned into the upside here. So we have something to go off of. Obviously, price action traders, even myself, love to use fib extensions. And it would offer decent targets, but I think with fib extensions, nothing is really concrete either, right? And then with ES and ES and SPX making all-time highs, yeah, they have nothing. From a price action perspective, there's nothing here to the upside. So there's no history to look at. So there's no volume profile in theory. But NQ has yet to hit its all-time highs, which was made yesterday. And YM has not yet made new all-time highs. So you can still reference the volume profile for those and where price action is at in order to kind of see where. So for instance, if we ride up and then we ride up an ES, it like up 15 points, and YM does a sweep. If we ride up on SPX 15 points, we're going to be at around 75.70, 75.75, which happens to be this area here. And if YM sweeps, that would be a reasonable short in my opinion. Which is why I kind of like watching all these other markets or clues. But nothing's perfect, right? SPX and ES has diverged here. Just reading what Alma posted on her daily, and the upside target was 75.68. The pivot was 75.29 on SPX. All these are SPX numbers, so it says target is tricky because volatility can catch up above the pivot out of its gravitational field. Then the target will be reversion-ish, so it could revert if vol catches up above the pivot. However, above 7552, which we're pretty much hanging out at right now, some oscillation can start to happen too. Then the target becomes magnetic. So it really depends what volatility is doing. If volatility is high, approaching that 75.70 level, then you're going to possibly get a reversion. But if volatility is low and we can consolidate around here, the 75.50 level, 75.52, then we can actually just inch up into the upside target, which is 75.70. And you can see 75.70 can very much be a magnet because it's 10,000 positions in in positive gamma. So dealers are short. So between these two positions here, this is I would call this a short call spread. So they are shorting gamma basically, and shorting volatility. So everything here is low volatility. And you can see it in the price action too. Like it's not really, everything's been quite grindy. Everything's been very stable for the most part, from a 1 minute and 5 minute time frame. So if it continues like this, then you could see that 10,000 positions at 75.70 and the 2,000 positions at 75.65 become like this magnet. It was always hard to kind of say, like, I know there's guys out there that, there's a lot of guys out there that basically say, hey, yeah, like we're going to go to this target and this is definitive. Yeah, it's possible, but nothing's 100%. And it all depends on how price action treats certain levels, right? And then from there, like that's what I've basically learned from Alma. So this level here, if we kind of stabilize here without much volatility, then we're just gonna continue up, slow grind up this 75.70-ish or 65. Because generally positive gamma is magnetic, but it always depends on where that threshold is. It's part of the reason why I had the bear bias yesterday too. But we kept on bouncing off 7,500 all day. I think we did it like 2 or 3 times yesterday. And but 7,500 was just such a key support level. If we break below it, there was additional support at 75.70, 75.80, and 75.90, I believe. It was all like dark blue. So naturally, I would have expected the market to want to move down towards there. But today, we're still pretty early on in the day, and we could see this price action pull back, and outside of the influence of that 75.70 level. And maybe it's another 75.20 pin, you know? And we're back into the range. But so far, I think I would consider this low volatility consolidation up here. Initially, that first move at 10.10, I think it's a 10.10 5-minute candle. If we moved up to 75.75, I would have just blindly shorted. Whereas what we ended up hitting was that 75.55 level, which was a daily level. Ended up being pretty good for rejection, but just a scalp, right? Like it didn't end up running a low or anything like that. It really just looked like some consolidation before to move up. So he wants to grind this out and ride up to 75.70. 75.70 makes a lot of sense because it's a daily level and it's also an intraday level. 75.55 was a daily level, rejected, but you can see that 75.55 no longer has that same positioning. It started off the day at 4,200 position size. Now we're at 300. So we lost that influence intraday. So moving up into it and consolidating near it, it kind of works out. Because intraday's showing that there's very little positioning there. YM's just also consolidating it within its intraday range here. NQ, I mean, it's just so powerful. It's above its high of day, or overnight highs, I should say. And it's sitting around its current high of day. So it does look like this thing just wants to trickle up. So I don't think there's much tail risk to the upside. So for instance, like, could we blast above the question? Like if we're talking about tail risk, that means, are we going to blast above like 75.85 and really run this as 7,600? There isn't, like, this positioning is so large that it is not likely to do that. Doesn't mean it cannot. It's just not high probability based on what we see. But it's early enough in the day. Like, I mean, we still have like another, what, 3.5 hours? No, 4.5 hours, sorry. Yeah, I'm still seeing nothing. Besides, like, potential for upside towards that 75.70, 75.75. The playing it though, it's hard. Like, I can't just enter here. We're entering at the high of day, so From a risk perspective, it's massive. So I just can't really get into a long here. Straddle's currently around 18, 19. So we're expecting a 18 or 19 point move that's currently priced in. The market currently is pricing in a 18 or 19 point move. Yep, just not seeing anything here. I don't think I got any. That's my only read on the day. And it's pretty slow. Really thinking about cutting out here. Upside drift continues. Into 75.70 or 75.68. I might give it another 5 minutes or so, and then I'll call the stream here, or in about 5 minutes. Just trickling up here. Right into that blue. There's nothing else to really look at in my opinion. So we are now, that high was what, 75.58, about 10 points to the target. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut out here. Not much to see. I'll be watching it every now and then throughout the day, but nothing too crazy. I think the read remains the same. Very stable. I don't think we could still see the rejection off 75.75, 75.80. But it's been such low volatility that I think we're more likely to just migrate into it, into 75.70. Then you gotta watch out for a potential move to the upside. Like another headline driven thing could rocket us up. Not likely, but it's possible. Anyways, have a good one, and we'll be back tomorrow.